All right, guys. I'm Tim. I'm an addict.
All set.
Well, let's see. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to say. Just figured I'd drink some coffee and start talking. Yeah, it does best not to think when you're up here. Just like a lot of things in life, a lot of things in this program. When I start thinking about myself, things usually go wrong. When I start thinking outside of myself, things usually work themselves out when you just let things go and go forward, start talking, start doing something, start taking action. With Open Talks, my sponsor told me to always speak to the newcomer. And typically at tables too, speak to the newcomer. So is anybody in here in their first 30 days? Anybody?
30,
Billy?
30, yeah. Sorry.
Anybody else? First 30 days? Jody? Welcome. Narcotics Anonymous is you do what we do and you'll get what we have. You do what we did, you'll get what we got out of this. And that's with the good and the bad. You substitute the way that we substituted, you'll get some of the bad habits we picked up in recovery. The suspended license. Whatever other habits we might pick up. But also you work the program thoroughly in the ways that we have, and you'll get the thorough results that we've gotten. Narcotics Anonymous gives you a gift if you work this program. That gift is a choice, and with that choice you never have to use again. Just for today, right? With that choice you never have to use again, just for today. I remember hearing that when I first came in. It was mind-blowing, and it freaked me out, right? Never going to use again, but it's that choice that just for today you never have to use again. And one day at a time, you never have to use again. And so I've been clean since November 21st, 2016, just for a day, one day at a time, sometimes one moment at a time. So that's the gift that's the choice that I got from coming here. I'm grateful to be here and to be here clean. And gratitude is a big part of my recovery. Gratitude is something that I practice daily. Gratitude and positivity. I try to be a very positive person, a very grateful person. And I think what some people miss with gratitude and even like with positivity is gratitude. Like, I'm not a grateful person. I'm someone who practices gratitude. Gratitude is not something that you are, it's something that you do. Gratitude is an action, it's not a characteristic. So I'm not a grateful person, but I'm someone who wakes up and typically, I will cheat some days, but typically every day I start my day with gratitude and saying that I'm grateful and hitting my knees and thanking my higher power for the day. Saying what I'm grateful for, writing it down, taking the time to acknowledge what I'm grateful for, bringing my awareness to what I'm grateful for, right? So it's taking that action. My sponsor said, this program, and I think, he said this is a program of action and prayer. And technically, like, prayer is an action, right? Like, I actively hit my knees in the morning and speak out loud or think it or whatever. Say what I'm grateful for. Say I can talk to my higher power about whatever, what I want, what I am looking for in my life. It's just like putting it out there, that prayer. I'm going to if I say that I want something, sometimes my prayers aren't always good. Sometimes it's, God, like, please let this girl like me. But what will end up happening often is, just by putting it out there, communicating that to my higher power, often that, like, what usually happens, that door gets shut. And then I realize I'm supposed to go a different way. And so that prayer is answered. So even in asking for what I want, I find just like that those prayers really do something, that attempt to consciously contact my higher power, it's really important. But prayer in action, prayer is an action, but what my sponsor meant there is that I think there's really two parts to this program, or this is what I've been thinking about recently, like 2 parts to this program, 2 parts to life, 2 parts to like being successful in a lot of areas of my life. It's taking action, and there's certain things I can do to actively make my life better, and then the other half to that is there's things that I cannot control and I have to let go of, and there's no action to let go. It's how do I not do the things that will make my life worse, right? Like, okay, I'm 2 years clean, over 2 years, and within this 2-year period, I've gotten in 3 accidents, so my license just got suspended for 30 days, right? So, there, I see Scott shaking. So, right, there's some actions that I can take to change this, but like the big thing with it, and with quitting drugs or getting clean and dropping the character defects, it's how do I not do those things? And when I'm driving and I want to do things that will distract me, I can take action to put the phone away, but 5 seconds later I'm going to say, I got to scroll through Facebook real quick. And I can do something not to do that, but that like urge to do it keeps coming back, just like when it was with using. That urge to distract myself keeps coming back. That urge to use kept coming back, no matter what action I took. So how do I let go of that? Like how do I not act on that? And that's the hardest thing in recovery. I know I heard it at a table one time and it really resonated with me. Like recovery, 99% of recovery is not doing things to fuck your life up. Right, like you get in a situation with somebody and you get mad, you feel angry, and you want to snap on them. How do I not snap on them? Right, how do I go to a meeting, we go to one meeting, and I didn't like this meeting for whatever, like somebody said something I didn't like, and fuck it, now I'm never going back to this place. We all like throw our hands up in the air, we get the fuck it's. How do we not like make that rash decision? So how do I let go? Because there's like action that I can take there's actions that I can take to ensure that I'm unable to let go. Like, right, a situation could be like, with using, like, letting go of the desire to use and like getting clean, right? Like, for me, it was always, and with all these habits, like picking up the phone while driving or whatever, it's like I have this urge to use, and the only way I know how to get rid of that urge is by using, right? So I don't think there's any other way to get rid of that except for acting on it. Whether it's like, I quit smoking was one of the things, and it was always like, I've been without a cigarette for over 4 months, and it was always like what I tried to quit for over a year before that, and it was always like I'd get this desire to smoke, this urge to smoke, and I'd need to smoke so bad, and it was just like, I have this urge to smoke. Okay, I'm gonna go buy a pack, smoke a few, then I'll throw it out, and once I do that, like, I'll fulfill that urge, and then I'll be able to start quitting again. But like those actions ensure that I'm not able to let go further on. And we all do these things like in our life, whether it's like trying to stick with a diet or whatever, like we think like, yeah, I can just have that. I mean, diet's a little thing. I mean, for some people it's a big thing. But like thinking that, yeah, once I have this one sweet, right, like I'm not going to have that desire for sweets anymore, and then I'm going to be able to go with the diet and actively like ensure that you're less able to let go later on, right? So there's actions that we take that prepare us to let go, right? Like working the steps prepared me to let go of the desire to use. But at the end of the day, like I feel like there's no action that I can take to actually let go of things. Like it's something that's lifted from me. Like the desire to use was something that was lifted from me by an outside source. Like I stayed clean, but eventually like the desire that I had throughout day-to-day life of, you know, right now I want to go and get high, eventually that just stopped showing up. And it was a lot of like fighting, like that desire to get high would come up, and I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like there's nothing you can do to remove it yourself. You can like force it out. You can call somebody. You can go to a meeting and it will be removed. But like early on, it comes back. Like with so many things, I push it out of my head. Whatever I'm having depressed about something or anxiety, like I push it out, and it comes right back 5 seconds later. And these things just try to like keep coming back. And how do I not act on those things to make it worse, right? And somehow I need to find whatever coping strategies I need to keep going until they're lifted from me. So that's where, yeah, the higher power comes in. And I think higher power, for me in my life, I'm very certain that there's a higher power, that I have a higher power in my life. And faith is huge for me. And higher power, this is not a religious program, but spirituality is essential, and a higher power is essential here. Because, what should I say about higher power? Because you're not getting through those moments. I mean, when I first came here, I was in so much pain walking through these doors, and I was so afraid of everyone when I came in here. You know, when I did the 90-day panel, I was up here shaking. You know, like, I've been freed of like that anxiety, but like when I first came in here, I was a wreck. You know, I remember having like panic attacks at tables. I remember breaking down and crying and saying, I'm never going to get through this. I don't belong here. I came in here because I didn't belong on the outside. And now I'm in here and I just feel scared and I feel like I don't belong in here. Like, what am I supposed to do? People reached out to me, but, you know, when I'm outside the meetings and, I don't know, my sponsor, he's got to work. Like, I just can't stay on the phone with him all day. Like, eventually I got to be with me. Somehow I got to get through that. Somehow I have to overcome, like, these thoughts that just keep coming back. Like whether it's a suicidal thought or a self-loathing thought or a thought of low self-esteem, like I can push it out, I can do something to remove it, but it will keep coming back. And somehow I gotta sit through that until it's removed. And like I need something greater than myself to know that it's like worth sticking through, to know that I need to have faith that it will be removed eventually. That's really how I got through it. Is early on, like for me, those feelings of I don't belong anywhere, those feelings that I'm alone, those feelings that no one understands, that no one knows what it's like to be me, that I'm worthless. For me, it was the only way that I knew to remove those feelings was to get high. And eventually, like early on, I sat through those feelings a few times, or I came to a meeting with those feelings and I left without those feelings, at least for a brief period of time. They came back eventually, but then I had hope, like in step 2, that I could be restored to sanity, because like I came in with these thoughts and these feelings, and I just thought they weren't going to go away unless I got high, and all of a sudden they were gone. And so it was that understanding that like these things are temporary and they will be removed, and I could develop faith. And that was the start of a connection with a higher power there, right? And so higher power for me is just about these things that I cannot control. But understanding that my higher power is greater than myself and it's loving and caring, so like the things that I can't control, they're under the control of my higher power, but my higher power is loving and caring, so they're going to work out in the way that's best. So higher power is big. Higher power. Yeah, I don't know. Since I'm stalling for a second, I'll start with like some story. Might as well touch on that a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time, in the dirt, the muck of the past. But yeah, why not touch on it a little bit? Growing up, and I hear this a lot around meetings, and I can relate to it. I felt different. I felt there was something that just wasn't quite right. Like I was misaligned from the other people. I felt different. I felt never quite okay with who I was. Felt never quite comfortable in my own skin. Growing up, like my values and my opinions, I didn't have values and opinions. I had your values and your opinions, right? My values and my opinions were what I thought they needed to be in order for you to like me more. So I'd throw away, it didn't matter who I was or who I wanted to be. It was about who I thought I should be for you. And that's how I grew up. And I didn't use in high school. I didn't start using until I got to college. Let's see. My senior year of high school, though, I got depressed before I ever used. I got depressed and anxious, and I had really bad social anxiety. And my senior year of high school, like I started having panic attacks, and I would go eat lunch in the bathroom, and just like hide in the bathroom. So I was too scared to go around people. I was afraid of people. I remember like hiding in there, eating, and like somebody would come in, and like just hoping, like pray to God they don't realize that I'm like got lunch on my lap eating in here. I laugh about it now, but that's the truth. And I didn't do it like senior year. I was started living a double life then, so I knew I'm very good at living a double life. I was very good at active addiction because I started before like drugs were in my life. Because I was, in the abundant pool of basketball talent that is the white suburbs of Northville, Michigan. I was a good basketball player, and so I was the best in like a big school in Northville, and I'd go out on Friday night in front of a big crowd and score a bunch of points. But like a few hours earlier, I was hiding in the bathroom, like fantasizing about suicide and depression and self-loathing and living a double life. And I went to college, and I was just whatever I'm going to do to fit in, I'm going to do, and somehow I'm going to break this cycle. I'm going to get friends. I'm going to figure out how to talk to girls or whatever I got to do. And somebody pulled out, first weekend there, a fifth of Bacardi, and I drank it. And I tried to act like, I had done it 100 times before, and I tried to act like the girls that we were going to talk to later in the night, like I talked to them 100 times before. I had no idea what I was doing. But I remember drinking it. I remember like that warm feeling coming over me. The first time like my consciousness was altered by a chemical, and it was just like, like I'm okay for the first time. For the first time I was comfortable with being me, and I was okay. And I don't remember much of that night, but I remember the next morning. And I remember some of that night, and I mean, we don't have to get into that, but it was me being a dumbass, thinking it was funny, right? But I remember the next morning, and those friends coming up to me, and those girls coming up to me and saying, what you were doing last night, you were doing this, and you were doing that, and you're so funny, and you're so crazy, and you're so wild. And I'm like, I found it. I found what I've been missing. And from there on out, it was alcohol and pushing every time I pushed the boundaries and blacking out, throwing up, and then started smoking pot, and then whatever. I was down to do whatever. I failed out of school my first time around with the drugs, and the social anxiety caught up to me, and I lost like 40 pounds and wouldn't leave the dorm near the end of my first year, and a lot of panic attacks, and became really depressed. And I went home, and my mom just didn't have a chance with me. Loved drugs at that point, and got into my first trouble that summer. I really just went off the deep end, became manic and depressive and started doing crazy stuff. And I got to a point where I started huffing gas alone in my garage, and I'd cut myself and huff gas. And I attempted suicide that summer. I stole a car and got arrested, and then they took me to the Northville Township Police Station, and my first time doing hard time, I just couldn't handle it. So the next morning, I attempted to strangle myself in jail, and they took me to a psych ward. It's my first introduction to getting some help and some recovery, and I didn't think I was an addict, but I was down with trying to better myself. But I thought I had found these chemicals that somehow I could use them in a way to better myself. And I was on probation for a while, so I still used, but I got into the over-the-counter stuff, where I would one day, from my expertise in that area, earn the nickname Tussin, Robo-Tim. But yeah, because that's how I got through probation, and I did some things to better myself, and I got back into school, and I started playing basketball again, and I went up eventually to play at OCC until I got away from my family again and moved out, and then just got right back into drugs, and I eventually started doing heroin. I overdosed on heroin in 2013, and I was out for 36 hours. Woke up on my own with rhabdomyolysis and kidney failure. Went on dialysis. I got dialysis treatment. I remember getting dialysis treatment in a room with a few people around me, and they were 80 and 90 years old, withering away, on dialysis. I had a catheter in my neck, and that would connect to the dialysis machine. I got my last dialysis treatment. I went back to my apartment. I said, I just got to finish off what I got left. One more. I did the same damn thing. Did the same damn thing. Woke up 24 hours later and rhabdomyolysis and kidney failures, and went right back on dialysis, and I almost lost my leg because of the position I laid in and cut off circulation in my leg, and I still got some nerve damage there. And so it was off to rehab for me. I got dialysis and I went to treatment. And I was down with treatment because I met some young people, and I was like, oh, I can have some friends now. So, I wasn't into bettering me, but I was like, okay, I can be the coolest guy in rehab now, right? And I was serious until I met some cute girl that was ready to use me as a void in rehab, and got kicked out of rehab for fraternizing, and I put a needle in my arm for the first time in rehab, my roommate, heroin, and I said I'd never do it again, and I was just like, well, once I get on the outside, I won't do it, so I'll do it in here while it's safe, or whatever, I just, brilliant logic, I don't know, I gave recovery a half-assed chance for about a month or two, until I got depressed. I attempted suicide again. I came over there and started living in my car, and really, really got into the cough medicine, the Robitussin, for a while. And eventually I got a DUI on it. See, this is me. Man, we had a chance to go to Cedar Point a couple times this past summer in recovery. It was just amazing. But we used to always go growing up. And I thought it'd be a good idea, to just drive down there by myself and, trip by myself on Robitussin, and drove back and got a DUI. Who goes to Cedar Point by themselves? With a backpack full of Robitussin, jeez, man, jeez. There's something wrong with this kid.
Welcome, brother, welcome.
Yeah. I don't know, that happened, and eventually I got back into school, and I obsessed with school for a while, and school saved my life for a bit and kind of guided me back into recovery. School's been huge for me, alongside recovery, and I think, I don't know, I like to talk about school, and I've been successful in this area, and I don't know, I think some people like to keep their outside stuff outside, what they do for a living outside of NA. I don't know, I want to be a physicist, and I'm applying to PhD programs right now, and physics for me, it's a big part of and really school. It taught me so many good lessons, how you improve one day at a time in an area. My success in school was kind of the same way I approached recovery. So I learned so many great things with it, and I think talking about that and being successful, I realize it doesn't make a difference in here what we do, right? It doesn't make a difference if you're a doctor or a lawyer or a cashier or whatever. You're unemployed and looking for a new job, as long as you're trying to better yourself. But I think what this passion that I found is really important to me, because if you're a doctor or a lawyer, right, you better be practicing the principles of this program in that affair and trying to carry a message through that, and trying to do good with that. And so this area that I've been successful in, it's really part of my recovery. When I started at school, I was in assisted learning in high school, and I was made fun of a lot for being dumb growing up, but I really wanted to do this thing, and I just knew like I didn't want to go back to that place of using, so I really like dove into school, and I was just encouraged by professors, and I saw like right away that I just did like all the problems out of the book, and all of a sudden like I learned how to do these things, and it was just mind-blowing that like one step at a time I could learn how to do something that people looked at me, and like even now like I get people who are a lot of people around here who are like trying to get back into school and community college, and they'll be like, Tim, you're whatever genius or something like that, and I really try to get across that I am not that the same that I got to learn how to do these things, and to be in this position to go to grad school by doing the same things that like the people in here have applied to recovery to be successful in recovery. Perseverance and persistence and work ethic and determination and courage and the ability to fail and get outside your comfort zone. Those are what has made me successful in school and in recovery. And it has very little to do with like being smart. What do I want to say? Yeah, I've been blessed with so many great things that have happened in recovery. And I started doing well in school before I got into recovery. But it was really like I started doing well in school, and I started seeing these things come to life. And I don't know, when I had been introduced to recovery before, I thought I was so much smarter than this. And I was at community college before, and I thought I was so much smarter than this. And then I started like taking these hard classes. And then like legit, like I had heard the stuff around here, and I started taking these hard classes, and I was like, as I started to learn some things in school, I was kind of like, man, the things that they were talking about here, they kind of make some sense. Now, like once I actually feel like I got smarter, I started to realize like, yeah, they got something. Like higher power, what's so key about the higher power is that like those things I cannot control, there's so much of life that is just uncertainty and not knowing, and how do I handle that? And for me, like school, starting there was and studying these things is so like you get with a professor and you try to start doing research, it's just like, I don't know shit compared to this guy. And you realize like he got there just one day at a time doing this stuff, and like he'll talk about like how not smart he is and compared to other people, and the humility that goes along with it. And so I feel like I was kind of introduced to a higher power in that, and I was kind of guided back into these meetings. But once I got into these meetings, that's when things really changed for me. Because when I first came here, I was a wreck. And I took the suggestions. I was very lucky. My very first meeting, I found a sponsor. I was very lucky. It's so crazy to look at like how people help me with things that I had no control over. That it's just like I didn't have control over it, so it was a higher power. And like going to that first meeting, and on the meeting guide list they give you, like having someone, not who my sponsor ended up being, but having somebody else there draw an arrow to his name saying, call, this is your new sponsor. And so I called him, and that was my new sponsor. And I did 90 meetings in 90 days. And I got involved in service. And I did things after the meeting. I did things to get outside of my comfort zone. It's really important to get outside of your comfort zone in here. When you physically go outside of your comfort zone, you really go deeper inside yourself, and you get more of a glimpse of, what do I mean by that? Going outside of your comfort zone physically is what changes you internally, right? And the ability to be vulnerable. Those are huge things around here. And reaching out for help, getting honest at tables. I've come up, a lot of things have changed for me in recovery, and I've hit a lot of like plateaus in recovery, and I've hit a lot of setbacks in recovery, but I just kept coming back like I did originally, and each time I came up to a setback, like I always tried to add something new to my program, whether it was like a new service position or whatever. I don't know, for me, like currently in my recovery, like, yeah, this driving thing is something that really needs to change. So I don't know, I've changed a lot of things in recovery, and I feel like if I was able to quit smoking, like, there's really no limits to what I can do when I have a higher power in my life. If I was able to quit using, coming from where I came from, there's really no limits to what I can do, just like applying the principles of this program one day at a time. There's no like promises as to what will come into your life, but like there's really nothing that you can't get through. Recovery teaches you how to get through things. And that's where we need a higher power. 'Cause yeah, there's just so much that I couldn't handle when I was in recovery. Like, it used to be, like, if I tried to talk to a girl and then she stopped talking to me, it was like there was no way I was getting that out of my head. You know, like, it was just what I was going to do something crazy or bad until that was removed. And, like, today, I understand that that's going to go away. Like, I have a higher power that I understand that whatever if that was an obsession, if she's an obsession or whatever, I'm just having emotions over it, like eventually that's going to be removed. I was someone, when I came in here, I was someone who really didn't like myself. I had really poor self-image with everything. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, I was just broken. I didn't like myself. A lot of self-loathing, suicidal thoughts, and this, I don't know, I think it's important because, like, it says in the 12th step, like, having had a spiritual awakening. And I don't hear people, like, don't really talk about that at tables, but I'm convinced that I've had a spiritual awakening. And that doesn't mean, like, right, like, when I did my 3rd step, you know, I thought I'd say the the third step prayer and the sky was going to open up and like my higher power, was going to reveal himself to me and like I was never going to have a problem again. That's not that type of spiritual awakening we have around here, but all of a sudden we realize something has been removed from us and we realize like certain situations we just don't react to them in ways that we used to. And so today, I can look in the mirror, and the mirror, and realize that I love myself. Tell myself that I love myself. There's times where, not too happy with some of my actions, with some of the things I do. But at the end of the day, I love myself, and I've got my own back, and I realize like today that I'm good enough, that I'm worthy of love and belonging, and that like the good things that are coming into my life, I'm not entitled to them, but I am worthy of them. I am worthy to have like good things bestowed upon me. I look at myself and I see myself as like a resilient and strong person. And I have a lot of assets. I think a lot of my personality, we need a personality change, right? But in a lot of ways, like, you don't. We change who we are, but like that Tim that was there, he's still there. Like we turn our liabilities into our assets in a lot of ways. Yeah, I won't say more on that. I'm running out of things. Try to wrap this up in a minute. Yeah, I don't know. This recovery has been amazing for me, and there's so many people that helped me along the way. Fellowshipping was huge. Making friendships in here. There's so many people that I care about in here, and making the meetings after the meetings, and just getting involved. And social anxiety was a huge thing for me before I came in here, and so to get over that and to start developing relationships with people, but then having relationships with people, you get involved in some things, and the good thing about that is they bring out some character defects that you got, and all of a sudden you got some shit just because you made friends around here that you get to take a look at. So it's part of getting outside your comfort zone, and getting outside of your comfort zone in here is important. So I don't know, I'll wrap this up just with the people within their first 30 days, or people that are new around here, just saying there is a way out today. Right, for the longest time I thought there was no way out. When I was in those states of mind earlier, when I was homeless in my car, or after overdosing, or even when I was suicidal, or even when or even just when that girl didn't text back, and I was just fucking in my head, just I'm done, this is it, I'm done, I might as well kill myself now. Over the littlest things, that's who I was, and I thought there was no way out of that. But today, I thoroughly believe there's a way out of whatever you go through. There's a reason to be hopeful and to have faith. Today, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a fucking train. Right? There's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's some recovering addicts. It's some freaking former dope fiends in here, that are here to help you out. Give this thing a chance. Just keep coming back no matter what. That's what I did. I had so many times where I just wanted to throw in the towel and get the fuckets, and I showed up to the next meeting. But I still called my sponsor the next day, and somehow I stuck with it. There are times in the beginning where I was ready to relapse, and people pretty much carried me. I remember my sponsor pretty much locking me in his house when I was 90 days clean. or getting 90 days, because I wanted to use so bad, and just said, stay here for the weekend. So many people reached out to me and like, we're here to help. Like, please get numbers and call them. Get a sponsor. Like, do this thing the right way. Whatever you're going through, like, you can get through it, and there is a way out of using, and whatever secrets we're hiding, because we all got something still we got to work on, right? And that for most of us, come on, that we keep away from the table, and we still got to work on, So there's a way out of that. Get honest with it. If you don't think it's meant for a table, make sure you tell your sponsor and work some steps. Get involved with service. Keep coming back. With that, yeah, I'm just grateful to be here and grateful to know all you people. And I'm done.